Hey guys, welcome back. It's Missy, and today we're going to be talking about something that I think is super important and something a lot of us struggle with, and that's how to trust after narcissistic abuse. How do we trust ourselves and how do we trust others? So I would say a question I get a lot is, how do I trust again after narcissistic abuse? Or I will see people become terrified of trusting again. They will completely isolate themselves from others and completely write people off and say, never again, I want nothing to do with people. Which that definitely is not healthy, because we're social creatures and we need to socialize in order to survive, and that sounds like a very lonely, hard place to be in. I swear every video now my phone rings. Anyways, as I was saying, it's a very hard place to be in when you feel like you want to isolate or you can't trust anyone. So that's not healthy. That's not healthy to do either. So before we talk about how to trust, we need to talk about before you had the narcissist in your life, what your relationship with trust was like. So before the narcissist, you either had no problem trusting others, so you were too trusting of others, or you didn't really trust anyone. Maybe you thought that you trusted yourself, but overall you're pretty skeptical of others. And those two extremes of not trusting anyone or overly trusting shows that there's a lack of trust in yourself. Because when you do trust yourself, there's a happy medium of you feel confident in the people that you can trust, and the people that you don't trust, you can not entertain them. But if you are on two of the extremes, that shows there's a problem. That shows that there's a lack of trusting within yourself, which generally that comes from childhood. We learn how to trust ourselves through our parents. If you grew up with narcissistic parents, then that means that you were brought up and taught to never trust yourself. They actually made it something negative, and they tried to instill that you couldn't trust yourself. You're brought up to mainly trust your narcissistic parent. They brought you up to feel like you were too stupid to do things, or that you couldn't trust yourself to do things, and that you could only really trust them, and they had your best interest and you had to solely rely on them. So what happens with that is, when you feel like there's a lack of trust within yourself, you can't make the right decisions, you then will trust people that are similar to that narcissistic parent, because you were taught, I can't trust myself, and maybe you were made to feel like I can't really trust others, so now I have to trust people that are similar to my narcissistic parent. Or it could have happened where you then became too trusting of others, especially people that are very similar to your narcissistic parent, because you were taught that there's no trust for yourself. You can't trust yourself with any decision, so then you become reliant on others. So there's that. Or there is, when it comes to, if you have overly codependent parents, or you have parents that are too trusting of others, you then learn that behavior and take that on and become too trusting of others. Your parents may have been people that were so nice and they got taken advantage of, or they weren't really people that spoke up. So then you also too learn that behavior of non-confrontation, more of that mentality that the world is kind of trusting, and maybe not seeing that there are negatives or bad people in the world. So then that taught you that there's a lack of trust for yourself and to become too trusting of others. Or even if you didn't grow up in a narcissistic home, if you grew up in a home where you weren't taught how to trust yourself, and you heard these little comments of like, let me do that for you, or your parents overly involved themselves in your life to a point where you didn't learn how to build that trust and make those decisions, that too will teach you to not trust yourself. So both those extremes led you to not trust yourself, and then what happens, like we talked about, is that you then wind up trusting the wrong people. You wind up trusting people that put on this persona that they could be trusted, but you don't really look at the red flags. And that's the thing, is that there always was red flags, but you either made excuses for that person, or maybe if you brought them up, that person, that narcissistic person, had consoled you and made you feel better about it. They manipulated you, all those things. And so you didn't really trust your intuition, you didn't trust yourself. You completely pushed those feelings to the side. Or you completely dismissed what you were thinking, or dismissed your intuition, and you dismissed your feelings, and you passed them off as that you were just maybe making things up, or you're seeing things wrong. So maybe you didn't see it back then, how you were ignoring those red flags, but if you were to look at it now, you probably could point out some times when you got a feeling about something, you completely ignored it. So if you look now, are there some red flags or some times when your intuition was kicking in that you ignored? Maybe they were pushing your boundaries. Maybe they overly poked fun at you and said that you were being too sensitive. Maybe they always tried to find fault in you and make it seem like you were the bad guy, you weren't doing enough. All these things that kind of seem small were things that were red flags that you didn't notice, and like I said, you maybe overthought them, and that led you to not trust yourself. Every single time you don't listen to your intuition, that hurts your trust. It breaks down the wall of trust within yourself, and then you don't listen to yourself. So now, after being in that relationship, what happens now is you become terrified of other people. You become terrified of going into that type of relationship again. And also, everything can now seem like a red flag. Now that you've learned about narcissism, it seems like everybody is a narcissist. Everyone kind of has these potential red flags. So it becomes a point where it's like, okay, can I really trust anyone? Is there ever a point where I'm going to learn to trust again? Because I see everything feels so dangerous. Because now you're in more of a trauma response. You've been through such a disgusting, terrible time. Now everybody seems scary. So it can be hard because in the beginning, they seem so normal. And so you're like, well, if they were normal, how do I trust again? Well, the answer definitely is not to shut everyone out rather. Can you maybe take some time for yourself and just be with yourself and kind of feel things out? 100%, absolutely. But long term, no. That's not healthy for you to shun out the world. So then what is the answer? What do? There's a middle ground of learning to trust yourself so that way you can learn how to trust others. It builds that. You need to build that trust again. So you may wonder, well, why does trusting myself help me to trust others? Well, when you trust yourself, when you build that trust with yourself, you can determine who is worth the trust and who could you see that they're not worth the trust. You'll know you truly trust yourself when you have been able to build relationships with others and you really truly trust them, and there's other people where you notice, I'm not about that person. I don't want that person in my life. And how you get to that point, because you're like, Missy, get to the point, how do I trust myself? Is you need, in order to build trust with yourself, you need to feel the sensations in your body to feel what that trust feels like. So you have to let your intuition guide you. What is intuition? Intuition is just this little voice inside your head that will give you insight into something. It's basically, it's a feeling, but it's basically your subconscious telling you something that you've been through before but you don't have access to. It doesn't give you the full answer. It's just like, it will tell you something of like, hey, I'm getting this feeling that this person is dishonest, or I'm getting this feeling that I should take this left, or you just get these feelings that you want to listen to and let them guide you. And really it also comes down to this feeling of like when something feels off or when something feels right. Anytime there's a moment where you notice you're getting that feeling, like you notice like something's off, or on the opposite spectrum, you notice that something's right, you want to listen to that feeling. When something's off, you'll feel like something's, two and two aren't coming together. Like for instance, with a narcissist, they're very manipulative. They can put up a great persona, but there's always something off about them. Like they'll say one thing and then do another, or they'll try to push you to get information, or they won't respect your boundaries. All these things, even if they have like a nice persona of like, oh yeah, it's fine that you don't want to see me at 9, but I'm also gonna be passive aggressive towards you because you said no to me. All those things are things you want to pay attention to and listen to yourself about. So you want to start with small things, not even just in regards to people. It could even be something so small like when you get a feeling that you need to tie your shoe. Anytime, that's how I built such a strong have built such a trust with myself and my intuition, is anytime I get a feeling, I listen to it. Like if I need to tie my shoe, even though it's something so stupid and small, like maybe my intuition was kicking in that I would fall down the stairs if I didn't tie my shoe. Or if my intuition's telling me something small like, hey, put the leash on the dog, you know, something like that. Just always listen to yourself with those small things, and that will build the trust with yourself for the bigger things of when it comes to other people. So if you get a feeling about someone, don't try to write it off or be like, should I feel this way? Or, you know, maybe I need to give them a chance. No, listen to that feeling. If you notice something's off, where they're acting one way and, you know, it doesn't match up and they're saying something else, that's a good time to trust yourself. Maybe you'll get this feeling that you shouldn't really reveal this information to this person. You won't entirely understand maybe why, but you just get this feeling. Because like there's no real facts when it comes to your intuition. It's just a feeling, and it's really just a subconscious thing. It's a gut feeling. So you do want to listen to your gut feeling. Allow your intuition to guide you. Now, there's always that question of, what if I'm wrong? Okay, what if you are wrong? How do you really know unless you try things out? That's the thing, is rather than wondering if you're wrong, you want to listen to yourself. So you can be like, okay, you know what, was a good time to trust my intuition, or, oh, I noticed I was actually listening to my insecurity and not my intuition. You don't know until you really fully allow your sensations to guide you to listen to how you feel about things. So once you build that trust with yourself, it'll be a lot easier. It won't be so scary. You won't act off of that insecurity. You won't be afraid. You'll be like, oh yeah, no, I trust myself. I trust, you know, that I can, you know, make this decision, or I really have confidence. It's building that confidence in yourself. Because what happens when you didn't listen to your intuition, over time, your intuition was like, okay, whatever. It shrunk, it got lessened, and because you weren't really listening to it. Same way if, like, you know, you keep giving advice to someone, they don't listen. It's the same exact thing. Eventually, over time, your intuition is just like, you're not gonna listen to me anyways, and it lessens that bond with yourself. So you want to build that bond with yourself, and over time it will be much easier. You'll see it's easier to trust in people, and people won't seem so scary to you. And then you'll want to do things like date, or, you know, plan things with people. Like you'll have a more fuller life because you're welcoming more people into your life. And this is all on your time. You don't have to, you know, people will ask, how long is this going to take me? Don't rush the process. Just be in the process. Practice your intuition. Even if maybe right now you're writing people off, just right now practice just listening to yourself, so you at least have that trust in yourself. Think of reasons why you trust yourself. I'm sure there's a ton of reasons. Like, you've gotten yourself to this point, you're healing. There's so many reasons why you can trust yourself. You're not homeless, you're taking care of yourself. All those reasons are you can trust yourself. Remind you why you can trust yourself, and that also, again, will build that trust in yourself. But give yourself time. There's no time limit on how long these things take. And even if, like I said, you're writing off people now, allow yourself to just build this trust, just so you have that, so you feel more comfortable, so it doesn't feel like the world is so scary, because that's not a fun place to be in. So what do you guys think? Leave it all in the comments below, and please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share with someone that you think may need it. Until next time, thanks for watching. Bye guys. Welcome back, it's Missy, and today, what are we talking about? Hey guys, hey guys, hey guys, no, I don't like that. Why can't I find my rhythm? I guess these. My eye is twitching so bad. I hope during the video it's not like I'm like, like I look like a little Cynthia doll, one of those crazy baby dolls. What are we doing, asymmetrical, or like what are we doing here? I think in the future it will ever be possible where when things need to be charged, it just kind of does it itself. I don't know how that's possible, but somebody figure it out.